Hey everybody, it's Rico and today we have a very interesting video because it is time to talk about Cyprus. Cyprus, a small but beautiful Mediterranean island, had an unexpected growth over the last few years, and in order to understand what happened, we need to talk a little bit about the backstory. I myself moved to Cyprus in 2019. I came here for 2 weeks and I fell in love immediately with the culture, with the lifestyle, the climate, and all the benefits that this country offers. At the beginning of living here, I shared an apartment in Limassol with my 2 business partners back then, and we wanted to lock in, focus on our business, and become the best version of ourselves. And back then, Cyprus was so quiet. Not many people knew about the country. We had no skyscrapers. There were not really many digital nomads here, and I remember wanting to work from a co-working space, but there were literally no opportunities. So we worked from cafes and we just loved how we can grow our business without worrying about high taxes, bureaucracy, unexpected costs. And it was such a big contrast to back in Germany, where we were just bombarded with problems instead of focusing on our business. And I still remember a very specific day trip to Paphos, where we took a look at the other cities of the island. And I loved it so much that after 1 year of living in Limassol, I actually decided to move to Paphos with my girlfriend back then and rent a house for 470 euros. It was a small maisonette with a communal pool, unobstructed sea view, 2 bedrooms, and I just felt like in paradise. Paying this amount of rent while having this kind of lifestyle was just like a no-brainer to me, and I was so confused. Why are not more people here on the island and do the same as me? Because there were people all around the world, Thailand, Bali, Dubai, that did the same but at a much higher monthly fixed cost rate. And because I knew that more people will be interested in Cyprus, I started my YouTube channel Rico, where I talked about my journey of living here in Cyprus. And now, ironically, 7 years later, the demand of properties in Cyprus is out of control. I literally just got kicked out of my penthouse here because the owner wants to rent it for much more money. He wants to renovate it and then put it back on the market. He told me I have 2 weeks to find something new, but it is literally impossible to rent a good property within 2 weeks. You have to spend so much time nowadays to look at properties, find something at a reasonable price, because there are entrepreneurs everywhere here and they are willing to pay ridiculous amounts for rent. In addition to that, we have skyscrapers, not just in Limassol, where we have 15, 20 skyscrapers and more on the way. We even have high-rise buildings in Paphos now. We have so many more Cyprus influencers now that do similar videos to me. And all of this leads to the fact that obviously the Cyprus economy is benefiting from that. And if we look at the details, Cyprus officially has the lowest inflation rate in the EU. As we can see here, Cyprus has an inflation rate of just 0.1%, while other countries like Romania, Estonia have inflation rates of up to 9.6%. Then next to that, we also have a GDP growth here in Cyprus that is 2 to 4 times faster than the EU average. And in late 25, Cyprus achieved something that is absolutely insane, because the country recorded the highest GDP growth in the EU at 4.5%. And that while the EU average is 1.3 to 1.5%. And even strong economies like Germany stagnated with their GDP growth. And if we look at the gross domestic product, here the GDP, we see that since the 1980s, the GDP growth is literally going parabolic, with estimates that by 2030 it will continue its growth. And those are all facts. We have multiple sources by Eurostat, by Stockwatch, that are confirming that the GDP growth of Cyprus is really good, especially when we take into consideration that Cyprus is a relatively small country. Further statistics show that Cyprus also has a budget surplus, meaning the country is is making money and not losing money, which is rare by itself, and the budget surplus is even crushing huge countries like China. And then lastly, in relation to the economy, Cyprus also reduced its debt from about 100% to 60 to 70% of the GDP in just a few years, which we can also see right here in the statistics. As you can see, we have a very healthy downtrend. And so that about the actual facts. In short and in simple words, this basically just means that Cyprus is growing rapidly and also healthily. But the main question now is, all right, but why is that even the case? And why is Cyprus growing so fast? And for that, we need to look at two key factors. And that is number one, obviously, the tourism in Cyprus. Cyprus, at the end of the day, is a holiday destination. Many people come here for vacation. In fact, 82% of the tourist arrivals mark at the airport that they are coming for holidays. About 10% are visiting friends, and about 6% of the tourists come here for business purposes. And if we look even closer into this data, then we see in 2024, Cyprus recorded for the first time more than 4 million tourists in one calendar year. In 2025, every single month was even more than 2024. And now in 2026, it is unknown because the data has not been published yet. And because of the Middle East conflict, I can imagine a little slowdown, but definitely it's still on the rise. But let's stick with 24 and 25 first. We see here the tourist arrivals, the red candles are 25, and every single month there was even more tourists than the previous year. And we actually do have a little comparison which shows what is happening right now during the Iran conflict, because in March 25 there was also attacks on the Gaza Strip, and we had a little slowdown, as you see here. And there was actually, in fact, in March less tourists coming here to Cyprus than in 24, the previous March, but people still came to Cyprus. And this is what I also see in real life here when I'm going for a walk at the harbor or other tourist destinations. There are people still coming here despite what the media says, because it is a fact that Cyprus has not been attacked by any drones, rockets or whatsoever. And obviously, the more tourists come here to the country, the more money the country makes, because we also have record numbers when it comes to the revenue from tourism. As we see here, Cyprus recorded 3.7 billion euros in revenue from January to December 25, and those are definitely numbers and income streams that the country is working with to improve infrastructure, healthcare, education, and so forth. But now also reason number two is actually huge, and I'm a big reason for that, because Cyprus is also enjoying a huge net migration of individuals, families, entrepreneurs, and businesses. In fact, the population of Cyprus is growing at a rate of about 30 to 50,000 more people that relocate to Cyprus every single year. And for that, we can look at the Cyprus population, which has been constantly growing since the 1960s. This drop right here is the 74 attack of Turkey in Cyprus. But other than that, every single year there are more people coming here to Cyprus. I always say that there are Germans everywhere here, and all that while Cyprus, the Southern Republic of Cyprus, actually has a livable area of about 4.5 thousand square kilometers. If we take out the occupied area, the Akamas National Park and the Troodos Mountains, which are protected areas. Also, the Republic of Cyprus has a population of about 1 million. There are sources that say 900,000, some say 950, but it is about 1 million. And if we work with those numbers, then we have a real density of people living here in Cyprus of about 222 people per square kilometer, because we take the population of 1 million and divide it by the livable area of 4.5k, and that gives us 222 people on average per square kilometer. And if we compare this with Germany, for example, where there are 280 to 320 people per square kilometer, then we see that Cyprus is slowly but surely reaching its limits. And this is very important to mention, and I will go into further detail what this means for the future of Cyprus and why this drives the prices naturally and organically up here on the island. But for now, let's look at who's actually coming here to Cyprus. And And for that, number one has always been UK citizens. Then in the past, there were a lot of Russian-speaking individuals. Now we have the new wave of the Germans, the Polish, but also Israelis people. And there are a lot of people say that Israel is taking over Cyprus. But if we look at the facts of the official government website, then we see here Israel. In 25, there were 26,000 citizens that came to Cyprus. And this exponentially grew from 23 due to the conflicts in their country. But it is still not as much people as UK, which is more than double. Also not as much as Polish people. So more Polish people came to Cyprus in 25 than Israeli individuals. And also almost as many Germans came in 25. And I would argue that 26, there would be probably more Germans, because when I go out in Paphos, in Limassol, anywhere, I see definitely more Germans than any other nationality here. Of course, British people have always been here because Cyprus actually used to be a British colony. But what is also very important to mention is that the irregular migration dropped by 86% since 2022. As we see here, the government is much stricter with arrivals and deportations of irregular migrants, which leads to the fact that people are actively choosing to live here in Cyprus. And the economy is now fueled by entrepreneurs, families, remote workers, and investors, people that come to Cyprus and plan to stay here long term and be a part of the economy. And that then leads to real estate prices, especially in key areas, growing 8 to 12% year over year, while other countries like Germany or UK are negative, stagnating, and their property prices are even declining in many areas, which is not the case here in Cyprus, just because there is so much more demand than there is supply. And London is actually a prime example, because it used to be one of the most popular places to be, but now even Bloomberg says, if we remove the red line here, that London is suffering its worst drop in house prices. And we see many clients as well that want to leave the UK and buy property here in Cyprus, but they still have to sell their property in the UK, but they literally can't do so because the supply and demand is flipped there, where there is much more supply than actual demand, because not many people want to buy properties in the UK right now with all the things that are going on over there. And so I say that Cyprus is the new hub for global wealth, while Central Europe and the West in general is declining in life quality. Tax rates are out of control. Safety is going down every single day. In Germany, Christmas markets are not what they used to be. They literally have to put fences around the Christmas market and Bolzen, as we call it in Germany, so that there are no trucks driving into the Christmas markets. What is that? And even safe havens like Dubai are currently not an option because of the Middle East conflict and because the UAE is an actual target of that conflict. And during all that, we have Cyprus as the opportunity, and more people are becoming aware of Cyprus. And since the pandemic, we have much more home office workers. So people realize that they can work from home. And because Cyprus is one of the destinations which combines an amazing climate, beautiful nature, culture, tradition, high quality of life, and low taxes, we have the network effect of people coming here, talking about it and how great it is, like myself many years ago. And this attracts more people, and it is like a snowball effect, which leads to a much more rapid growth over the next few months and years. And this is actually exactly what I talked about 3 years ago on my channel right here, where I was seeing the very first signals that this might happen, and now seeing it unfold is really astonishing. And now let's look at some actual examples of who Cyprus is for. And as we already mentioned, it is obviously for businesses, innovators, entrepreneurs, due to the startup tax benefits, low corporate tax, further incentives for businesses. The Cyprus government is actually supporting businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, and not crushing it down like Central Europe and the West. We have an IP box regime, which offers the lowest corporate tax in the world, compliant with OECD standards for IP-related income. We have easy company formations, no unnecessary bureaucracy. We have cheap accounting services here, and this leads to the fact that Cyprus is currently going viral on X, Twitter. As we see here, this entrepreneur posted, "I just moved to Cyprus," his first impression of being here, a few photos, and this post almost got 700,000 views. Then we have replies to that, where people say, "I came here with Mark Lou and this guy," which are also kinda popular popular people on Twitter, and they say together we're gonna turn Cyprus into the SF of indie hacking. So we have actual entrepreneurs, people with talent and skill that are relocating here, creating jobs, making marketing for Cyprus, as this obviously attracts many more people that at least come here for a visit. And also, in addition to that, we have personal finance benefits. Cyprus offers a 50% income tax deduction for foreigners that relocate here and work in Cyprus for a company. We have retirement tax benefits, where worldwide pension income is taxed at a flat rate of just 5%. With the non-dom status, you are paying legally 0% taxes on your worldwide dividend and interest income. And all those tax savings, while it is still relatively affordable to live here if we compare it to other major countries or cities like Dubai or London. And I get it, Cyprus is not for everyone. We can't compare it to London or Dubai from a lifestyle point of view. It is different, and this is exactly the point, because the lifestyle in Cyprus is that we have a slow pace of life here. It is so safe for families. I feel comfortable letting my daughters go out at night, take a walk in the dark. We have more and more influencers that enjoy this kind of lifestyle. A good example is my friend Yanemais, who started doing videos about Cyprus about a month ago. As you can see, his video got 500,000 views of his starting my new life in Cyprus video, and before that he was just about 100,000 views. And since then, let's remove the lines again, his videos are absolutely crushing. All his videos have so much more views, and in every title he's putting Cyprus, Cyprus, Cyprus and Cyprus, because he realizes that more people are interested in Cyprus. And there are so many more points and benefits that I didn't even mention, like the health benefits. Cyprus has the cleanest waters in the EU, and some sources even say in the world. The diving world record was done here in Limassol, which obviously shows that Cyprus environment is so clean. The air is so fresh, the nature, the slow pace of life just peace in your mind and balances your hormones. It increases your testosterone as a guy because of the high sun exposure, and it balances out your estrogen levels as a woman. And while all this is happening, obviously there are huge opportunities that arise every single day. And as mentioned before, real estate in Cyprus is at an all-time high. Since August 25, we see the Google trend is just peaking, and all that leads to the fact that we have a wealth influx of the exact right people that a country needs in order to grow. And now, fun fact, I actually used to say in a few videos in the past that Cyprus is the new Dubai. But what I've realized is that it is much more similar to Monaco, because it is limited in space but highly demanded. The thing with Dubai is that it is a desert at the end of the day, and you can just build indefinitely into the desert without actual limitations. But as Cyprus is an island and there are so many protected areas, we have regulations when it comes to how high you can build. There is a limit to how many houses can be built here and how many people can live here, because the infrastructure is also not laid out to millions and millions of people. In Limassol there are traffic jams. In Paphos it also started a little bit just now. I'm not saying we have reached the limit of Cyprus yet, but the question is, at what cost is all this happening? Because every now and then I see comments under my posts that the expats and the foreigners that come to Cyprus, they are driving the prices up. Groceries and utility bills are so much more expensive, but what they don't realize is that this is happening everywhere. And because Cyprus is an island, we need to take into consideration that everything is getting imported. And as oil prices are also going up, this is affecting imports, which literally affects every price here in Cyprus. And instead of seeing foreign money as something evil and we don't need it, we have to realize that the role of foreign money is actually very important, because without foreign money, Cyprus would do much worse during these hard economic times. The foreigners actually come here and contribute a fair share to the country. They inject external capital into the economy and they obviously pay taxes. It is not a tax haven. We still pay 15% in corporate tax and and 2.65% for the YESI or National Healthcare Service. We spend money locally, we create jobs, opportunities, and even the minimum salary is steadily increasing. And if you work for a foreign company that relocate to Cyprus, you are actually getting a very high salary. But I do get the point in what the people mean, because what they see is that the rent prices are going up and everything is getting more expensive while all those people are coming here and driving fancy cars. But what we need to understand is that it is a short-term problem. The main problem is the low supply in properties. There are just much more people coming to Cyprus, 30 to 50,000 every year as mentioned earlier, while construction just takes much longer. There are not 30 to 50,000 new property units that are being built every year here. And funnily enough, I myself am a victim as well of this exact problem, because I'm getting kicked out of my apartment here and I can't find something good in the short term now without paying ridiculous rent prices. But what's very interesting is that Cyprus and Cypriots actually have a very high home and land ownership. As we see here in the statistics by Eurostat, Cyprus is actually the #1 country with the lowest percentage of people in households that spend 40% or more of their disposable income on housing costs. As we see here, #1, while down there is Germany, Denmark, and Greece, who spend the most amount of their income for housing costs. And so technically, the Cypriots are actually also benefiting, or many Cypriots, from this growth of the country, especially if they own properties and or land. But even the Cypriots that do not own such immovable properties, they still have so many opportunities to make money. I mean, you could start a gym. There are no real high quality gyms, or not enough. All the gyms are packed. Why not opening a gym? Why not opening a car wash? Why not selling ice cream to the tourists? Why not being creative and making the best out of the situation? Obviously, if you work in a cafe or in a restaurant or in a hotel, you will get probably the minimum salary, but this is the case in every single country. And also, let's not forget that Cyprus is part of the EU and growth is necessary. It is impossible to just close the borders and say we don't want any more foreigners that come here to the island. We want to be ourselves, because this is not realistic. And you know what? I myself am all for supporting locals. I would actually confidently argue that I'm the #1 influencer on this island that is giving back to his community by giving away MacBooks, by giving away iPhones, by giving away even cars with Fidias Panayotou, who is also a YouTuber of Cypriot origin. And just recently during Christmas, I went into the mall myself, my girlfriend recording me, where I gave away gifts, where I gave away money to Cypriots and to my followers. I'm extremely grateful for this beautiful country and every single one that supported me on this journey, and I'm enjoying giving back to the community. And also the Cypriot entrepreneurs, actually since January 1st this year, they also enjoy lower taxes now. They also enjoy the low corporate tax of 15% if they have their own limited company, but also the special defense contribution, which used to be the main limiting factor why Cypriot entrepreneurs specifically are paying high amount of taxes, was reduced from 17-19% down to about 5%. So the tax rates of Cypriot entrepreneurs and business owners are actually very, very close now to us foreigners without the non-dom status. And if we want to take this further, I am all down for giving benefits for loans for Cypriots, for example, where they pay a lower interest than us foreigners, where the government creates sponsored campaigns, where they allocate some funds from specific campaigns, whatever it is. I don't have an example right now. Actually, Yanamais and me, we wanted to introduce a custom license plate campaign where individuals can buy their own custom license plate, and I myself would easily pay some thousands of euros to have Rico as a license plate, and I'm sure there are so many more people here in Cyprus, they would do the same. And this is not much effort for the government to establish this. Yanni and me would promote it, and all the money that is being made with this custom license plate thing, like in the UK they have something similar, this could be allocated for the locals, where the government is creating, let's say, apartment complexes where only locals are allowed, and this would be like low-cost complexes where the construction companies and developers are not building those properties with super high profit margins, but very low profit margins, as it is sponsored by the government. And then in those complexes, we have Cypriots that live there in their own little communities, which is an amazing idea. Now think about it, this is actually an amazing idea, and if this will ever be introduced, I will be the first one to support this. But anyway, let's get back to the topic, because now the final question is, okay, Ricardo, that all sounds nice and I get the point of Cyprus is growing, but doesn't that mean that Cyprus is a bubble? I mean, is it realistic that everything is just going up and we have sunshine and flowers and all that? And even though, yes, there will be always sunshine, we have to take into consideration that the growth is not exponential compared to Dubai, for example. It is not looking like that. It is just a healthy linear growth. And this is how Cyprus was always growing, very healthily. And over the last few decades, we had different waves of migration. It started in the early 1900s with the British that came to Cyprus. Then we had the Russians. Now we have the Germans and the Polish. And it is like always a new clientele that is interested in Cyprus. And the Germans are very interesting, because why are there actually so many Germans interested in Cyprus right now? And the answer is because there are so many German influencers here in Cyprus, and they are promoting Cyprus on their social media. And this obviously leads to more and more Germans being interested and coming here to Cyprus and then promoting it themselves, because everyone in Germany is an influencer, especially the fitness industry. It's crazy. And so it is just growing healthily. And again, it is different to Dubai, where young people move to and they just plan to stay for a short period of time, make as much money as possible and leave somewhere else. People that come here to Cyprus actually plan to stay for a very long time. They come with their kids, they integrate their kids into the society, bring them to schools, and you don't do that if you plan to stay less than 10 years. And the more people I talk to, the more I realize that people are actually happy to stay here forever. I mean, I myself also see myself staying here forever with at least a holiday home. But that's too far in the future. Let's get back to the bubble topic, because construction, as said earlier, takes a long time, and there will never be an oversupply of properties, because the real estate lobby here in Cyprus, they are actually aware of this, and they know if they build too much that the market could collapse, and they don't want it, because newcomers need new places and they want to keep the market healthy. And so while a real estate bubble is driven by escalating prices that exceed fundamental values, and I would argue that Las Vegas, for example, had escalating prices that exceeded their fundamental values, and then it crashed in 2008, this is not and will not be the case here in Cyprus. So my final verdict is that Cyprus is still early. Despite the momentum and what's already happening here on the island, we still have a very bright future. And everyone that is coming here now, buying properties here now, starting a local business here now, they will benefit from the first mover advantage. And if you're interested in anything regarding Cyprus, then definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. But that's about it for now. The video is, much longer than expected. Guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.